Moikka!
Hey!
Welcome to our podcast, Mastering Finland.
I'm Jean and I'm from California.
I'm Petra and I'm from the Czech Republic.
We're here to chat about our life in Finland. Hi everybody, welcome to the podcast. This is Jean and I'm here today with Davide from Italy. So hi
Hello.
Davide. Hi. Welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this.
My pleasure, indeed, my pleasure.
You're actually our first male guest, so this is an honor after all these episodes. So, all right. So, actually, you and I met when we studied at the University of Jyväskylä in the first semester, which I'm realizing now was 3 years ago.
Yeah,
I
time
can't
flies
believe it's been 3
indeed.
years.
Yeah.
But we were in the same Finnish one language course.
Yeah.
And you continued to Finnish too, right?
Yeah, I have to say that I've always been very interested into learning Finnish language. It's actually one of the main reasons that brought me to Finland.
Okay.
So that's why as soon as I came to Finland, I started looking for courses that I could attend. It wasn't actually that easy because I wasn't really 100% Erasmus student because I was writing my master's thesis, but there wasn't an official agreement between University of Jyväskylä and my university. So I kind of was in a gray area. So I wasn't really allowed to take courses from University of Jyväskylä for free.
Oh.
But eventually, after some begging to university staff, they allowed me to attend some courses. So I started with Finnish one with you and our teacher, Jenny, I believe.
Yes, she's
Yeah, so nice. And then I went on and on, one course after the other. And I've actually recently finished to take my last course. On paper, I should be B2 level, but
oh my goodness.
but
Impressive.
yeah, but talking is a totally different thing. Yeah,
That's true. I mean, the communication part is always the I feel like the hardest part of learning a language. But wow, that's amazing that you actually stuck with it till the very end.
Yeah, it took a lot. It took a lot of motivation, but
I bet you got there. So let's just start from the very beginning. When did you come to Finland, and how did you choose to come to Finland? Why Finland?
so I arrived on August 2017, the 20th, if I remember right. Yeah, it's almost 3 years. Wow, time flies for real.
It really does. Yeah.
I don't say it feels like yesterday because so many things have happened.
That is also true.
At the same time, like a part of me is still like 25 years old, at that point.
Yeah.
In that airport before all the adventure started.
Yes, I know.
And well, the short answer to why Finland is because I really love like nature and I'm very interested into a language as well. So I know it might sound very strange, but
No.
These are really maybe the biggest reasons that brought me to Finland. And I kind of always, although I'm Italian, so I might be supposed to enjoy, warm weather, sunbathing at the beach and this kind of stuff. I literally hate any temperature above maybe 30 degrees. Okay.
Really? Well, you're in the right place then, for sure.
Indeed. No, too much for me. And in my hometown, Padova, which is like, I don't know, half an hour from Venice, let's say. So northeast of Italy. You have basically more than 30 and also 40 degrees from June to September, okay, every year.
Oh my goodness. So then these past 2 years of summer that we've had, they were pretty hot in Finland. For Finland, it was pretty hot. It was like it reached 30.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and so then was that was normal for you? That was preferred over the heat in Italy?
Yeah, I remember seeing some sweaty, complaining Finns around. It's 31, 32 degrees. I think we actually hit the record in Helsinki last year. on a Sunday. I remember it was the 28th of July, I think, because I was right back from Italy for my sister graduation, and there were like plus 38 there, or 40 even. And I came back, it was plus 32. I was at the beach, and then I read the headlines. Oh, today was the hottest day in Helsinki. And like, oh, wow,
It's like
you know.
it was so nice to you. Yeah. Oh wow. Well, that is a big difference indeed. And yeah, it is definitely cooler here, which is also nice.
Yeah, and I really love, and I fell in love with Finnish winter. Another very strange thing, maybe, but I really love snow and cold temperature. Okay, and especially when I was in Euroscula, where
Yeah.
you really have like a proper winter. Oh boy, I was in love.
Yeah, that's true because you guys don't get that kind of cold in the winters
No, no, not
in
really.
Italy. At least not where you are.
No,
Um,
not where I am.
yeah, not at all. Wow, okay. Well, did you know anything about Finland before coming?
Well, maybe not specifically about Finland. I've always kind of been intrigued and interested into Nordic countries. So also with a few friends of mine, we enjoyed some road trips in Norway, Ireland. I've been to Sweden and also once in Finland. I think 6 years ago.
You had been here before.
I was once in Helsinki 6 years ago with a friend just for a few days, I think 3, 4 days. Then we took a night train and we went to Rovaniemi. It was very like, low budget, broke university student trip.
That's the way to do it. Yeah.
Oh boy, we went like with a night train to Rovaniemi, it's 12 hours.
Oh, wow.
We couldn't really afford the sleeping compartment. So we stayed in the normal seats.
Oh my
And
goodness.
yeah, and I can tell you that sleeping like spending the whole night in the same position, like sitting in a train.
Wow. Yeah, I feel like that's the thing to do when you're young. Because
Yeah.
yeah, I don't think yeah, that sounds miserable to me right now, but okay, that's really interesting. Okay, so did you experience any kind of culture shock coming from Italy when you first came to Finland?
I gotta say that I didn't really experience any culture shock, at least in the very beginning or while I was in Jyväskylä writing my master thesis. Uh, I don't really know why, probably because of the very young environment I was part of. And, I'm always hanging out with friends. It's very easy to make new friends when you are within the university environment and community. So I was always doing something. If it wasn't studying, it was hanging out with people and meeting new people, like making new friends and everything. So, if I'm not wrong, I think I spent 7 or 8 months in Jyväskylä. Then I graduated. I went back to Italy to graduate, and then I came back to Finland looking for a job. So in that time span of 7, 8 months, everything was great. Okay, and I was aware of the culture shock. So, and I was kind of waiting for it. Not that I really wanted it to come, but
Right.
I knew
Yeah.
what it was, and I knew it could strike any time. So,
Right.
okay, I know
Sounds
it's gonna come.
sounds
So,
like some kind of disease. Yeah, I could strike
yeah,
anytime.
we're
Yeah.
gonna get it at some point, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah. How interesting. Do you think it's because maybe the university life, it is at least in our programs where it's the international program, do you think it's because we were with international students for most of the time? Or I guess were you with international students and um, or even when you were with Finnish people, you didn't really sense any kind of culture shock?
No, I think that, well, I don't know. I always tried already when I came to Finland for the Erasmus exchange. I was already in a kind of 50-50 mindset of staying in Finland also after the graduation. So the time I was spending there, I was more interested into meeting Finnish people and trying to get a better grasp of the culture. Because I have a long term, I had long term plans. So you go somewhere for the Erasmus, you just want to get wasted
The
all the time,
experience and
and to the but and also I was already 25 when I came here, and most of my friends were maybe in their like 20, 21, and it doesn't sound like a big difference, but it is.
I agree. And I feel like in the 20s, every year makes a big difference.
Yes, so true, so true. And so sometimes I felt the gap between me and other people in the sense that I was maybe more focused in my life plans. Oh, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna look for a job. Am I gonna settle in a foreign country? This and that. And maybe for the other people, other students, the biggest problems were others, maybe just getting more credits. I'm not saying those are
Right.
problems, okay, but we were just on different layers. So sometimes communication was a bit harder in that sense, but it wasn't a culture shock towards Finland. It was with just other countries and other people. But eventually, the shock came when I moved to Helsinki, and the working life started for me.
So you were in Uvascula from August 2017 till June
I think
2018?
like end of April. Yeah, end of April.
Oh, okay, end of April. And then you went back to Italy and you graduated.
Yes, I went back to Italy for 3 weeks because I had to defend my master thesis in front of a committee and everything. So I had to go there a little bit earlier, and then I wanted to spend another week after that with friends and family and everything. And also, I was a bit scared because I always had a purpose before that. It was my master thesis, but now leaving for a country with no plan, it was kind of scary. But yeah, I, I remember so clearly that it was the day that I was supposed to leave from Padova to get back to Finland. It was the end of April, and I was laying in my bed. Everything was packed already, and
Mhm.
I know me and my father had to leave in I don't know 10 minutes maybe to get to the airport. And I almost felt like crying, because I was like, "Oh boy, what am I
Oh,
gonna do now?" Because like, am I really doing the right thing, or is it
right.
just like a huge trip that's gonna just empty my pockets and I'm gonna be back more
Right.
miserable than I am now?
I mean, it was a complete leap of faith for you. You kind of just took
Yeah,
that chance and that risk.
it was. I kind of gave myself a limit, which I think is very important. I told me, okay, I have this amount of money, which maybe is enough for 9, 10 months in Finland. So if I find a job before that, I'm gonna stay. Otherwise, it was nice, guys, to meet you, but I'm gonna go back. So I think it's important to set this kind of limits because then you end up, without money,
I
and
completely agree.
yeah, I think it's
Yes.
important to set it.
That's actually exactly where I was after I graduated last year. In June, I said I'm going to give myself until December, and if I don't find anything here, then I am going somewhere else. Um, but I ended up finding something in January, so it was a little bit behind schedule, but but I agree. I think it's important to give yourself a limit, especially here because the job market for foreigners is trickier, I
It
feel.
is. It is.
So, yeah, so you definitely do have to give yourself a timeline and limits.
Yeah, and it also pushes you to be more effective in the job research because if you don't have a limit, you're always going to think, oh yeah, I will apply tomorrow to a couple of places, but no, 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 no. I remember I was applying like a machine, like every day, sending application every day,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
and it is indeed hard. Okay, I was a master graduated electronics engineering student, and it was so hard to find a job, okay, as an electronics engineer. And I remember sending something like maybe 50 CVs. Okay, it's not much. I was sending maybe a couple of every day because I was doing a very thorough research, and I was
Yeah,
personalizing every aspect of my cover letter and the CV.
yeah,
They're very
yeah.
fundamental things, I think.
They
So
take so much time, especially those cover
yes,
letters when you want to like make it specific to each place. It's
yes,
just
indeed, indeed.
you think you could use the same cover letter for every place, but then you're like, no, this place is a little different, so I have to say this. And before you know it, you have like 10 different versions or more.
No, yeah, it's so true. It's so true. I remember really modifying the cover letter to fit the keywords that were in the job advert, just repeating them, So I was hoping they could trigger some reaction. I still don't know if these are just, myths or what,
Yeah.
but
Well, you got a job, so it
yeah.
can't be
And the
completely
interesting
useless.
thing, interestingly, I out of those 50 CVs, I only got 2 interviews. Well,
Wow.
telling me no. And actually one of these 2 interviews came because I applied to one place A, but place A shared my CV with place B, and then eventually place B called me. So it's so true that so many places are not even available online.
Right,
So many job
exactly.
adverts, and
Yeah.
and I only got those 2 interviews, but I went to both of them and I actually got
Yep.
both jobs. So
Wow.
this made me think because the problem is getting to the interview because we are all kind of valuable in the same way,
Mm-hmm.
but different surname, different picture in the CV, and
Right.
there you have it. I'm not even
Right.
blaming anyone because I
Right.
know that in Italy the situation is far worse maybe,
Mm. Mm-hmm.
but on the other side it is more difficult for foreigners to find any job.
Do you think it's because we also don't speak Finnish? Did that ever come up in the interview of whether the Finnish language is going to be crucial or vital?
Well, I think it really depends on the job you're applying to. I'm lucky enough that in my sector, it's not really mandatory, although I did mention speaking some Finnish in my CV and I was tested during the interviews. A very
Oh,
brief
okay.
conversation in Finnish, but they wanted to see what I was able to do and these kind
Right.
of things, although it was never a requirement to have any kind of fluency in Finnish. As a matter of fact, I have 2 colleagues that don't speak any. So, uh, but then again, we speak English. Like even if I would is speaking Finnish, like half of the technical words are in English anyway. So
True.
yeah, but I'm just lucky that this is the sector that doesn't require Finnish because for many
Yeah,
other jobs you do need it.
that's true. Yes, I have heard of other people who, because they didn't know Finnish well enough, could not qualify for the job, or maybe their CVs weren't even, considered because they didn't know Finnish. Um, yeah, which is the tricky part.
Yeah, and I also was only applying to English job adverts. So I have no idea if there were Finnish job adverts for the same position that I am working for now.
That makes sense. That's a good tip. If they're posting in English, then most likely they are open to foreigners who speak English.
Yes, yes, definitely. I remember getting a lot of help from. There are some associations in Finland, non-profit, so
Okay.
you can also go read there for free, and they help you to tailor your cover letter, your CV, and that was actually one of the first steps I took when I started looking for a job. There was this association in Helsinki. I don't know if I can mention the name.
Yeah, go for it.
No, it was Lucan Integration. They have a main office in Campi, and I really went there with my CV printed and my cover letter for a job position that I found, and we spoke together about how I wrote down my CV and how I wrote down my cover letter. It turned out to be a huge pile of crap, so we had a lot into improving that,
Oh
and
man.
and I do feel that that gave me a lot of it boosted my self confidence also when I was applying because it felt more technical and I kind of knew what I was doing.
Right,
And
right,
I'm sure it made it more effective because I have a friend also here that was applying, copy paste CVs here and there, not getting
right.
any reply back. He went there to these guys, learned how to tailor all his CV and cover letter, and he found a job as a teacher 2-3 weeks after that.
Wow. So what is this association called again?
Lucan, Luckan, integration.
Okay. Okay. And is there a fee that you have to pay, or is this
No, I went there really all for free. And I was actually feeling guilty, I remember, because the email exchange was so long with one of the persons there.
Mhm.
And I was often mentioning in the email, yeah, sorry, I know that I don't want to take your time. And she was like, yeah, well, it's my job. so, so yeah, it was
I
really,
That's so interesting. I also like when I get stuff for like quote unquote free here, I always feel kind of uncomfortable. Like, oh, I feel like I don't deserve it, but this is how it's done here and it's amazing. But yeah. Well, that's a good resource to share with our listeners because, if just hearing that it worked for you and then also for your friend and were how did they help you prepare?
So yeah, most of the problems were into my cover letter, as like 80% of the corrections were applied to it, and 20% of the mistakes were maybe in the CV. In the CV, it was mostly related to the layout, how things were really written down. You want to put them nicely put there, with the right nice dots and everything, and also
I
very
see.
synthetic.
Mhm.
Yeah, very synthetic. It was interesting to notice how, like, the less working experience you have, the more things you try to write into the CV, to make you look more like a suitable worker for such a position. So one of the early modifications were to cut out all these words, and even though I had very little experience, we had to focus only on that. So make it come out, and make it visible and clear to the interviewer. And that was a key also.
So did they make it more concise then, your
Yes,
CV?
yes, yeah, that's
Okay,
the
okay.
word. And yeah, those were the main modifications in there. And then in the cover letter, we really changed a lot of it. So you want 3-4 paragraphs. And in the beginning, I was just putting everything in there, randomly, everything about me and my working experience and how it was related to the job offer. But you want to have a structure to it. You want a first short paragraph that sums up why you're applying to that position and that position itself. Then you want a second paragraph more detailed about why you're a good fit for that position and what you have been studying until that point, what you can offer to the company, and why you are really a good candidate to that. And that's where you want to, trigger them. You want to throw in
Mm,
keywords, and you want to really
get their
make them
attention.
listen to you. Yeah, definitely. And then you want to speak a little bit about yourself, the person you are, and that's something I didn't really even write in the first place with my cover letter,
Yeah,
but it
that's
is
true.
important.
Like what exactly do they mean by that? Just your
Uh,
personality?
I think, yeah, a few hints about my personality and also my hobbies. What I like to do, it has to be just a few lines. You don't want to get too out of it, but
Right. Yeah.
but yeah, and it has to stay in one page. This cover letter, but it's also good to like show them what kind of person you are, because it's better to have a colleague that fits in well in the team and it's an average guy rather than a genius who is arguing with everyone all the time.
Exactly. Exactly.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Teamwork is just as important, I feel like, as the professional skills.
yes, definitely. And I'll tell you more. The position that I'm working at the moment required 2 years of experience when they interviewed me, and I had none, totally zero. And I remember my boss, we spoke about it a few months after I was hired, and he told me that I really struck him with my willingness to learn. He told me, I knew that you didn't have experience, but you made me understand that you are very eager to learn, and that if you have a problem and you don't know even where to start, you made me understand that you know how to get to the solution and that you are willing to put 100% of yourself in there. And I think that's the key. Like if you are able to let the employer understand this, then you're gonna land the job.
Right. Yeah, so to have like the right attitude and
Mhm.
um, just a problem-solving positive
Yeah,
attitude.
these kind of things. Then again, it's tricky because everyone writes in their own CVs. Yeah, I want to learn. I'm a good problem solving person, and
Right.
and also in my case, it was hard to get to the interview. But again,
Mm,
after the interviews, I landed both jobs. So I think that you really need to work on how you're presenting yourself as CV and cover letter level. Because if you get to the interview, I don't think you have anything less than a Finnish guy, for example, that speaks local language, for example. So that's the thing. You need to really invest in how you're selling yourself, in my opinion.
interesting. Yeah, yeah. And I'm sure there it's competitive, I imagine, especially for foreigners to get a job because, we're going up against not just Finnish people, but all the other foreigners
Mhm.
also. So yeah, that's an interesting it's a successful story
Once in a
of
while,
looking
we
for a
hear
job
some.
here. That's
No, yeah,
that's
it was hard, and also also linking back to the conversation we had previously about the culture shock. That's when the culture shock started for me because the working culture in Finland and Italy are really opposite, and also moving to another city with no friends and also very less chances to meet new people because you're not a student anymore. You're not anymore going to the same places that are where students are. So it was really hard. It hit me in the face, and and it took long. It took time. I think it was really. I'm not exaggerating. It was maybe 9 months of really tough days and nights. But I'm happy I had the support of my girlfriend and a few friends from Uvascula and from Italy also. Stay in touch and calling, and because sometimes you just need to know that there's people for you. Especially moving to another city made me feel alone, and because my girlfriend actually is in Uvascula studying there.
okay.
So when I moved out, our long distance relationship started.
Oh,
So
yeah.
yeah, and although
On
we
top of
anyway
everything.
yeah, and although we anyway met every weekend, sometimes you need the friend. Sometimes you need the person there that you meet in the evening for a beer.
Exactly, exactly. It's
Uh,
community is so important, especially in a place yeah, where it is difficult to settle in to here into a country, and Finland is, I guess, yeah, just like any other country. But um, do you feel like it's harder to make connections with Finnish people? Because we have heard a lot of that from foreigners, and I've personally also experienced that myself. But how do you connect with the Finnish people?
well, I know it's a very widely heard stereotype that it's hard to connect with Finnish people because they're introvert and all this kind of thing. I think it might be true just to a certain extent. Uh, I think, well, of course, any for everyone, if you go to a different city, it's hard to meet new people because everyone has their own friends there, and they go with them in their places, and they have their friends from all the lifetime or the university. So I think in the beginning I started. I first started going to Cafe Lingua events in Helsinki,
Ah,
both
okay.
both because I wanted to learn the language and practice more, and because I wanted to meet new people. So really, I found the event of this Cafe Lingua somewhere in Campi on the internet, and I was like, okay, I'm going there tonight. And I went there, didn't know anyone at all.
Yeah.
I just went there. The every Cafe Lingua, like how it's made. You have several tables, and there are different flags.
Yeah. Uh-huh, uh-huh. And you just join.
Yeah, you join the table of the language that you want to speak. So I just went there. I saw a table with a Finnish flag, and I was like, all right, let's dive right into it. I went there and started talking a bit. Uh, Kind of got to know a few people, and then I started going there every Monday or twice a week was that I remember. And
Okay.
there, you start to see always the same faces, and then you get some connections, some friends, and then everything very very slowly started to turn in the right direction for me as well. And it's really like now that I'm really much more settled in, and I feel like almost like home, let's say.
Oh, that's so good to hear. And
Finally, yeah.
yeah, and I feel like you deserve it because you really did put yourself out there. You didn't let the hard times or any of the obstacles stop you or discourage you. Um, that's that's really cool to hear. Very
Yeah,
inspiring.
I think
Inspiring story.
it was very challenging. Also because when you are left kind of alone. Well, I say alone, but of course my girlfriend was always with me and very supportive. I have to say, as well as a couple of friends, Kairan, for example, from Uvascula, which is really my best friend. I have to say, but although they were always there, you won't you well it is me because I'm Italian, I don't know. I enjoy meeting new people and getting to know new people and listening to new stories, and it's something I really needed and I didn't know I needed before actually.
Yeah.
So it was
Yeah.
like this culture shock was really a journey into myself, into my mind, my own psychology, I
Mm,
have to say. and
interesting. Yeah.
and really there were many times that I had to choose left or right, and I chose now I want to stay, I want to understand myself, and I started reading about culture shock, about psychology, watching videos and everything to try to understand what was happening in me, because
Mm,
giving up wasn't really an option, but I don't
mhm.
even want to stay here and suffer either. So finding the right balance took time. When and also when you are alone, like all the negativity is very much amplified.
They do get louder and louder.
Yeah, so much louder. Like I remember reading somewhere that Finland was among the most racist countries in Europe, according to one or two studies. And of course, you need to read a study to understand that it's not really maybe the thing, or just in some parameters it is. But of course, you hear this thing and you're like, oh man, where did I end up to? And then, yeah, and then in the metro, every time, someone looks at me and looks somewhere else, or I'm talking in Italian to the phone and someone looks at me, I can interpret that look as a racist look. Even it
Oh,
really
really?
wasn't. Yeah, it really wasn't. But if that day you wake up, in the wrong mood and you are so negative, then it amplifies itself like 100 times, and you don't realize it. You don't realize it. I remember one time, really, in the bus from Jyväskylä to Helsinki, acknowledging that I was feeling this very like negative feeling into myself, and I realized I kind of saw myself from the distance, and I realized, wow, I'm so much. I have so much negativity in me. I have to work on this, and that's where everything started back again, but you don't really realize it. It's so subtle. Like you're living a day after day. You need to stop and realize, okay, what's going on here? And yeah, you need to take your life a bit slowly and pay attention and see things from different directions.
That's such a good point, and I feel like Finland is a great place to reflect because it is so quiet and peaceful. And
Oh yeah,
they are
definitely.
very much into the whole at least in the university they had us reflect a lot and like write journals. I don't know if they made you do that in your program.
No, not in my program, unfortunately. I know, and I think there is a much more support here, psychological support to students than in Italy. And this is crazy because when I was studying in Italy, it was very rough. Those exams were super rough, and professors, there's a much wider gap between professor and students in Italy. As like, I don't know, they're more powerful, let's say. And and also exams. There's plenty of oral exams where you're just, with the professor in front of the blackboard, and you're asked questions and you need to write down all the stuff in front of other students also, for example. And very often professors, I'm not saying makes fun of the student who makes mistakes, but we're really close to there. And I've seen plenty of times students crying in front of the professors, in front of the classroom.
Oh, that's an
Yeah,
unpleasant bad experience.
it's so much, but but it's everywhere and all the time. So you think it's normal. It's that kind of unbiased, society bias that you get, that this is the normality, but it's not, really not.
Right. Yeah, and here it's completely different where there is like no barrier between the professors and the students. They almost see us as equally knowledgeable, and they also want to learn from us. I don't know how your experience was, but
Yes, yes, no, it's definitely on the same line. Yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, I didn't have the chance to attend courses except for the Finnish courses that I took, because I was just here to write my master thesis. But
okay.
my girlfriend is attending. She's doing her degree in US school, and we very often speak about this. Actually, funny, well, more or less funny story is that she was on Erasmus in northern Italy the last
Oh.
semester here. So unfortunately, she went there in February, but she had the chance to stay only 5 weeks because of coronavirus. So she was sent back. So she had the chance to experience the Italian way of teaching, and she told me it was so different, but obviously not fully because she had to come back.
Oh my goodness. So she didn't get to experience the whole semester.
No, unfortunately not. It was very hard, especially in the beginning, because in Italy, coronavirus started very early compared to the rest of the world, basically. So she really felt left out in the beginning when she had to come back. But then it spread all over the world, so she didn't feel as she was being prevented the one lifetime experience. But
Mhm.
still,
Right. I mean, I'm sure she was like planning it and looking forward to it, and then
Mhm.
bam, the stupid corona ruined
Yeah.
ruined everyone's plans. How do you think Finland has been handling this whole situation? I mean, I think the advantage we have here is that we have space and
Yeah.
not as many people. But yeah, how do you think Finland has been handling it all?
I think they have coped well. Of course, I was also a bit skeptic in the beginning because there was a bit of delay in kind of closing everything, going to a state of lockdown. But I mean, I'm an engineer, I'm not an economist, I'm not a doctor. So I trust the authorities, and if they wanted to wait, then they had their reasons to do so. And I wasn't really putting my anger on Facebook comment section or these kind of things. I was spending that time actually reading studies and understanding, oh yeah, maybe it's better to wait a bit. So
Mhm.
I feel many people should have done the same, but
Oh my goodness, these Facebook groups, some of them are there's a lot of different characters there, and it could it could also be a source of negativity. I realized
it is
um
definitely.
yeah, I went down a hole this one time in one of the groups. I won't mention which one, but I'm not a part of it anymore because I was like,
Hmm.
this is not something I need in my life. But um, yeah, all of the negativity of people and just the lack of understanding that people are showing to one another,
Yeah,
it was just discouraging to hear. But yeah, so
yeah, I so much understand what you mean. Yeah, sometimes, and the very tricky thing is that you don't realize you're going deep into the rabbit hole. You don't really realize, and the later you acknowledge that, the worse it is. And it's very tricky, and it can really condition your life, because I think it's very true, at least to some extent, that if you fake it you make it. So if you try to live your day with a positive attitude, then I don't know, magically more nice things happen to you.
yes, eventually it just you come around to it, and Yeah, it's just all about perspective, really.
Yes, yes.
So I
One thing that it was very important to me, and that I started doing, and that I haven't stopped doing since. When I go to sleep, I think about three things, three positive things that happened to me the same day. So, I'm laying in the
Oh,
bed and I'm like,
yeah.
okay, I need to find three positive things today. And what happens is that not only you acknowledge the good things that happen even in your worst of the days, but even better, after a few days or weeks that you've been doing this, during the day, when something good happens, you remember, oh, this is a good thing I should remember for tonight. So it kind of makes you stop and think, oh, this is a good thing that happened to me. And this might sound crazy, but it's really a turning point.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's such a great tip. I know I was supposed to ask you at the end, like what's advice or an advice or helpful words that you would like to pass on to other foreigners, but
Mhm.
um, yeah, I think that's a really great idea to help you change your perspective and to stay focused on the positive, which is so
Yeah.
important. The struggles that we experience here. You mentioned before that. Um, like the working culture in Italy and Finland are so different. Can you explain that a bit more? How is it different? What's
What I've noticed, although I can't really compare same position because I wasn't working as an engineer in Italy, I was doing like side jobs like waiter or a receptionist in a hotel. So I do have work experience, but not for the same position and then no same environment. But I think in Italy, there's the work is the number one priority. So like you go to work at 8 in the morning, you don't know at what time you are leaving the workplace because you need to be productive. Like productivity is number one priority in the company. So overtime is like normal, and it's not normal to be paid actually for the overtime. So you're lucky if you get paid the extra hours that you do, or some people just agree on some extra pay, which would be like 1 extra hour per day, but you end up doing maybe three for 4 days in the week, you know. And there is a lot of work, and often there is drama in the workplace, because you're just stressed out, and that also affects the workspace relationships. In Finland, I feel that there is a lot more focus into well-being in the workplace, and the attitude is I'm not saying more relaxed, but I'm saying more relaxed. Like I don't know how else to say it. Like they take it more easy, or at least they have a better work-life balance.
yeah,
So
it's a healthy balance.
yes, it's a very healthy balance. Like you go to work, you do your stuff, and then you go home and you do the rest of your stuff. So while in Italy it's so much focused on work. As an example, lunch break in Italy is easily 1 hour and a half, for example, and in here it's half an hour. And so this, as a consequence of this, in Italy you go back to home from the office at 6, half past 6, maybe in the evening. Here I go to work at 8 in the morning. I'm home at 4. So
Oh wow, it's a
yeah,
big difference.
yeah, indeed. And I don't think it's because we are Italians. We need 1 hour and a half to eat. Yeah, I mean, I was eating at the same pace as I'm eating here in Finland. I was just not doing anything for 1 hour after that, just chit chatting with my colleagues, and yeah, not saying wasting my time with useless small talk, but yeah, you got the meaning.
Yeah, yeah. I guess the time here is spent, I guess, more like productively maybe or more practically. I don't know. Um, but
Yeah,
yeah,
no, it's so real, and you end up actually being more productive when you have this kind of healthy balance. Because I see
right.
myself and I see my colleagues as they step in the office, they change shoes. We have the work shoes to put on, and then they go back, like working already. Meanwhile, I remember
Wait,
back when I was in Italy. That's the coffee break number one, coffee break number two, three, four, five. So I don't know.
yeah, yeah. Um, By when you said you guys change shoes here, do you guys change into slippers?
We have some kind of sandals,
Okay.
specific. No, yeah, it's not slippers, just like technical sandals because we need to be like there for protection, electrostatic
Oh,
discharge protection. But I have seen colleagues going around with the socks or with the slippers also. So it was a bit strange in the beginning, but then I got used to it.
yeah. I also thought it was so interesting when our professors are just walking around their office in woolen socks. Well, especially in the winter, they would do that.
Oh,
But
yeah.
yeah, everything just, all about comfort and casual. So that's interesting. So regarding your life in Finland, can you tell me about someone who has had a big influence on your life in Finland? Is there anyone that comes to mind?
Well, of course, my girlfriend has been of great support to me.
Mhm.
Actually, she also studies psychology. Actually, so I think she came into my life at the right moment and with the right mindset.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Uh, so we actually met early during my exchange. I think was it October, probably 2017, October or November 2017.
Okay.
We met through Tinder, actually, which seems to work pretty well in
Yes, very popular and effective here. It's true.
and we had a few dates, and then things got more serious. So she has been of great help for me because, listening is very important, and also as a Finnish person, we were able to discuss the differences more, and she was also able to, I don't think, justify some differences, but give me the reason why some things in her mind were like that, or why she was doing something. So, it's not just happening. It's like, oh no, we were told do like this, we were taught in school like that, or it's just like this where I come from.
Exactly.
So
Yeah, yeah.
this was, of course, this helped me a lot. And yeah, we're still together. She's living with me at the moment until September when she will go back to Uvascula. So, but on the other, well, not on the other side, but sometimes also girlfriend is not everything you need, in the sense that I was lacking friends, well, especially when I moved to Helsinki. So, like, linking back to what I said before, it wasn't enough to meet just in the weekends. You sometimes need someone just to send a text, hey, wanna meet for a walk at the park when you feel a bit down. There you have it. So I don't say I cannot do this with my girlfriend, but sometimes you want a friend there. You want your best friend and you want your girlfriend.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I was lucky enough to meet a few people in Jyväskylä, Kai, as I mentioned before, and Jan from Czech Republic, actually, friend of
Oh,
Petra.
yes. Yeah, I know him too.
Ah, yeah, you met. Yeah, it was in the same Finnish school.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. True. Oh man, I wonder how he's doing.
Ah,
Oh
yeah,
man,
Jan is doing
time.
doing well. He was planning to come to Finland actually in last April, but coronavirus stopped
Right.
everything.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
Kai, this friend of mine from Dubai, now he lives in Finland. He's really, I want to say, my best friend in here. We have met maybe the second or third day that I was in Finland, totally randomly. Okay, I was
Okay.
I was going to. I decided to go and attend the YAMK orientation week in Jyväskylä.
Oh,
I was not part of YAMK. My research was,
just so our listeners know, YAMK is the vocational school. Is
yeah,
it
yeah,
vocational?
applied
Okay, yeah.
science. Yeah.
Yes, applied sciences vocational school in Uvascula. Right.
So I decided to attend it just to meet some new people. Although my research work was to be done in the physics department on the other side of the city. But I was like,
Okay.
yeah, let's go there. I hope they don't ask my ID or anything like that.
You're crashing their party.
Yeah, I really did. I really did. And I actually got
Yeah.
some useful information. At the traffic light, I met a Brazilian guy who already
Okay.
knew this other guy, Kai. So he introduced me to him, and
Okay.
ever since we started having parties and also discussing, we were going through the same things many times. So sometimes it's very important to have someone that shares the same struggles, someone that is going through the same things that you're going through. And so you can share perhaps different points of view. And also, and most importantly, maybe the other person is coping for that with that thing already. So you can ask for tips, and how are you coping with that? So he's been of great help, and I'm so glad that I was able to meet him, and we are still in touch and hanging out when Corona lets us to do so. and
Oh,
and
that's so
also Jan was a great friend of mine.
I'm so glad that you have a community and people that you can rely on. That's really good.
Yes, it was really my helpline. Sometimes you feel bad and you want to call someone to,
Yeah,
to be cheered up, or just to think about something else,
right,
and
exactly.
there you have it.
Yeah, yeah. That's I completely agree and completely understand. What do you appreciate about the Finnish culture, which is different from your home culture?
I think here I really appreciate that the Finnish people, they really trust the society and the Finnish government, its decisions, and they support them. They are happy to pay taxes because they see all the benefits from them. You have, all the services are going pretty smoothly. Of course, if you listen to some things, they might complain that they're not that well. But I mean, I come from Italy, so this is like promised land to me.
I completely understand the promised land part. Yes. Okay, yeah, that's true. I haven't ever actually met people who trust their government so much, and like you said,
Yeah,
trust
so
society.
real. Yeah, it's so
Oh,
real and it feels so nice because often I'm walking in the park or going for a bike ride. Sometimes you see maybe a paper on the street or a can not too far from a bin. And very, like, normally, I would say, you see passersby taking the can and putting it in the trash. It's not their can, they didn't throw it there, but they take care of the environment, they take care of the public spaces because they feel part of the community and they feel like they're all working together. And this is a feeling that I didn't really get in Italy, unfortunately. There's still the culture there of the smarter gets old. If you're able to, you know, sneak some money and don't pay taxes in something, then you're the smart guy. Meanwhile, here, everyone will be, calling the police on you. So, yeah, or you would feel bad. I mean, you would feel bad. Like you don't have the ticket in the metro. Like yesterday, I was in the metro and someone didn't have the ticket, like in the next seat next to me. They were really accepting the thing. Yeah, it was my fault. Sorry. And the how you call it, how you tarkastaya, the ticket checker. I don't know,
uh, uh-huh.
something like that. And they were like, yeah, oh, you need to pay 80 euros, and the guy paid, and that's it. In Italy, I saw weird things like people like screaming and drama and police involved. Ah,
That's true. It is very different here, and they do value the honesty, which I agree is completely refreshing to be in that
yeah,
kind of
so much.
environment. Um, I'm gonna turn it around now. What is it that you've learned to appreciate about your home culture in Italy, while living in Finland? Is there something that you miss?
Uh, I think it's gonna sound very Italian now. Forgive me, but I miss the food, as everyone will expect. Now, I'm gonna go a bit deeper than that. I don't think.
But I completely understand the food, because how can yeah.
No, I think but it's not just the food itself because after all, I'm cooking my own stuff. Like if I want a pizza, I make my own pizza, and I'm able to find the Italian, tomato sauce in the store or whatever. Yeah, it's overpriced, but I'm also getting a better salary than in Italy. So, yeah, on comparison, I'm not that fair anyway. But I think the drinking culture and the kind of healthy food culture in general in Finland, they are worse than in Italy, I would say. At least the drinking culture, I would say it's very different because I remember going to some parties or just going to bars or concerts even. I've been to concerts of, well, I don't want to say big bands because I listen to metal, so usually bands are very small, kind of a niche. But still, they were going sold out for the small places they were performing at.
Okay.
And so many times you get there, the band are not even playing, and there's people being kicked out by the bouncers because they're wasted.
Oh,
So I'm
wow.
kind of wondering why do you get there? And also,
Yeah.
like, I was used to, I like to be in the front row. Okay, I know it's very dangerous, but I do it anyway. No ribs are broken so far.
Good.
But I always try to get there first, to get the first spot.
Yeah.
And and then when finally they open the doors and we all rush in, no one goes actually to the stage. Everyone goes to the bar and grab a beer or two.
Oh, really? You're just there by
And that
yourself
feels,
in the
yeah, yeah. I actually started going there later at this time, especially in winter time when it's colder. I used to go there like 2 hours before back then, but now I just go when the doors open because I know I'm gonna get in the first row anyway because everyone is at the bar. And it might sound funny actually, but then it's at least to me, because also in Italy, if you are drunk or you are acting drunk, especially in the around other people that you don't know or in the street, it's very bad. Like it seems very bad. Probably, yeah. Another thing I notice is that Italy is much more fashion oriented than Finland. I don't mind. We don't like to wear that many fancy clothes and stuff. So I know Finland on this side. So I get why young people are not that nicely seen by the society. But also it's really everywhere. Like I go to also to Cafe Lingua. Sometimes I was talking to people and they felt kind of tipsy already, and it was 7 in the evening.
Mhm.
So I don't know. It just feels weird to me. Maybe I'm just oversensitive to this, but
Yeah.
I don't know. In Italy, you just go there, take a spritz with your friends, and then you talk and talk and talk. Then maybe you
Right.
get a second round, and that's
Yeah.
it. Like no one really gets seen, or if you do, you are in your house with your friends, and you decide to stay there and you do that. But
Right. Yeah.
if some of them is around,
Yeah.
barely walking or biking or even driving, it would be so bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. The drinking culture is definitely very different. Here, it seems they just like to binge drink, like drink a lot at one time, just, to get drunk or whatever. Whereas in other cultures, it's more like laid back, relaxed, like you were saying, like, chatting with your friends, and it's nothing so crazy, or no one's unconscious or anything like that. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think it's also it has kind of become part of the culture. I think because it really feels like some of the Finnish people they feel the urge to just start drinking because they have to, because there's the big stereotype of the shy Finnish, especially men. The shy Finnish man who needs the beer to open up and talk to
Yeah.
other people. I think it's so wrong. But
Yeah.
again, it's just kind of a social bias. Everyone does it. Then you feel like you have to do it,
Right. Right. Exactly.
and that's so different from what I'm used to. And
Yeah.
And that was weird actually, because sometimes when I was out with my girlfriend and I saw a drunk person, uh, maybe asking for asking something to me, maybe, or just walking around, I was always unconsciously maybe giving a bad look, or not really reacting that well. And my girlfriend was mentioning me, why are you doing that? Like I don't say it's normal, but it's not that weird either. And I was like, no, not really. It really is. So you could really see the difference in culture at this point.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Totally. Um, do people, when they see you and your girlfriend, do you get like any, I don't know, reaction from the Finnish people, maybe particularly
Hmm.
the men, Finnish men? Have you had any of experience
I
in?
I don't know. I I actually think that so far I had only kind of positive experiences. I have to say that I haven't really met that many Finnish men, like just friends of my girlfriend who is also younger than me, university students. So when you get to this younger generation, the mind is much more open, especially also to mixed couples like we are. I haven't really met 40, 50-year-old people, rather like in addition to my girlfriend's family, who really took me as a son to them. Okay, so they're really the best. They are my second parents here, basically.
Oh, that's so
So
nice.
I haven't really experienced anything bad. It's interesting because this question comes after a few days from the, I don't know if you heard the book published by the right hand party here in
Yes,
Finland. They were saying
yes,
how Finnish women, they are seeking revenge against Finnish society by mating with foreigners. We were
yes.
laughing so much, me and my girlfriend. She actually posted a picture of us in her social media. Like, yep, here we are.
Yeah, that is actually what you said is actually almost like quoted. Um, like that is exactly what it said. That it's they're taking revenge on Finnish men, and yeah, dating for it. Mating. I like how they said
Yeah,
mating.
unbelievable.
Mating.
Yeah, I remember I was at work. I shouldn't maybe say this. I hope my boss is not listening to the podcast. I just arrived at work and I was quickly checking, like scrolling Facebook, and I stumbled by an article on Yle, one of the main newspapers here in Finland. And I saw the headline. It was in Finnish, so it took me a bit of time to understand. And then I kind of opened it and I started reading. And man, the rabbit hole was so deep. I opened the translator on the computer and I started translating the article. And the more I was reading, the more I was like, what am I reading here? So I kind of left it like halfway because I had stuff to do. But then in the afternoon, I got home, the English translation of the article came out. And I don't want to say, I don't know if unfortunately or luckily I understood well. Luckily because it means that I know Finnish pretty well, but unfortunately because I understood that the absurdity of the things that they were writing about, like mating
Right.
Finnish, like mating foreigners. Come
Yeah,
on, man.
I know. It was just I couldn't imagine. I couldn't believe I was reading that. It was just so bizarre and so like unlike the Finland that I know. I feel like I always have like a I just think Finland is perfect, and which is a good thing and a bad thing because nothing's perfect. But um, yeah, it was interesting to hear that something that people are thinking like that.
Yeah, it made me a bit sad. But again, if this would have happened a year ago or a year and a half when I was into culture shock,
Yeah.
that would have struck me so hard because also I quickly read the comment section under that article
Right.
and so much support for this. Of course, might be 10 people, but it really depends on your mindset. If your mind amplifies that by 10 times, then you feel like you're in the most racist country in the world.
Yeah, yeah. I completely agree. Yeah, I think it's best to filter those things out and um, try to look at the positive and surround yourself with positive people.
Yes, indeed. And this doesn't really. I don't mean that you need to, deny. Yeah, here you have it. I'm not saying you need to deny the negative things that are happening here by just looking at the bright side. Everything is positive and sun is shining, but to try to keep a balance in yourself because there are some negative things, but you need to look at the good things also. And yeah, and sometimes negative things are so much, heavy. And so many studies show how one good things makes you happy for 10 minutes, and then something bad, even smaller thing happens, and you are sad for the whole day, maybe. You know, so you really need to find a balance within yourself to give the right value to things.
Wow, I feel like we touched on a lot of different topics. This was a really informative and um, yeah, just lots of topics were covered. This is great. So thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I feel like we could go on and on.
We can make our part one and part two.
There is still so much more that can be said, and I mean, you're always welcome to come back. And it was just so great to hear a success story of a foreigner, and just to hear, how you didn't give up, and um, you were a go-getter. You really didn't let anything stop you. And yeah, so thank you so much for sharing your story.
It was indeed my pleasure. First of all, to hear back from you. We haven't met in so much time or even heard from each other, but it's nice to hear that you're also doing well. And it was a greater pleasure to be part of this podcast of yours, yours and Petra's. That you really had a great idea of starting this, and I'm happy you're doing well, and I hope you're gonna get bigger and better.
Yes, thank you so much. All right, thank you so much to our listeners, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye bye.